How are you, Ray?
Another quiet day here in Satan's colon.
Thank you for joining us from that very dark place. What do you make of the Chip Kelly hiring by the Niners, Ray?
Well, weirdly, a day ago it would have completely stupefied me. But I talked to our guy Matt Mayoko yesterday afternoon, who had a feeling that it might come back around to him, just because none of the candidates, other than Hugh Jackson, really seemed to hold much appeal. The notion that he would go back, though, is really intriguing because it means that Jed York spent 1 year having made a safe hire and hating every minute of it, and is now back on the limb that we all thought he'd never go on after Jim Harbaugh, because it's a fascinating yet very risky hire for him. If it turns out great, it turns out great. If not, he'll have headaches like the ones he had with Jim. But it's basically Jed York reaffirming for us the thing that we thought he was done doing, which is swing for the fences.
Well, I mean, after a year of in the Tom Sula diaspora, right? I mean, this is a swing for the fences that I think 49er fans would welcome. Wouldn't you say?
I think they're jumping up and down because I think they believed that Jed would never do it, and B, that they were done looking at Colin Kaepernick. And this is an indication that maybe the 49ers are trying to make Kaepernick work again, because I think everybody thought that after this last year they were done. And it seems to me clear that if you're bringing in Chip Kelly, you're not bringing him in to retool Blaine Gabbert. So it's such a departure from what we thought the 49ers were going to do after Hugh Jackson decided to get in a bidding war with other teams I think Jed will come out looking very good in the short term. We'll see what happens when actual games are played, but for right now, the airspace over Levi Stadium is clear.
Now, and I mentioned he's going to be the ambassador for Super Bowl 50, Chip Kelly, right, Ray? I mean,
yeah, he'll be glad handing like crazy. You'll see him on Radio Row and Media Center all day, every day.
I hope so. That would be great, handing out gold smoothies to everybody.
Oh no,
right?
Just flat out gold.
So this does mean, because we are all putting two and two together, that Kaepernick is the perfect quarterback running passing wise if he can upgrade his ability to be accurate as well as see more than just one side of the field in Colin Kaepernick for Chip Kelly. But how are things between Kaepernick and the organization with these surgeries that take place in Denver? And we saw what happened about him not understanding why he needed to take a breath by Tom Sula going to Gabbert. What about that relationship, Ray?
Well, I think the fact that Tom Sula is no longer there probably helped a bit. Although, let's be honest, Tom Sula had next to no power there anyway. So when Kaepernick was demoted, he wasn't demoted by Tom Sula. He was demoted by the organization. I think if Kelly can sell himself and the way he does things to Kaepernick, I think Kaepernick may be willing to give it another go, because of all the coaches in the NFL, the one best suited to finding what was good about Colin Kaepernick and reassembling it is probably Kelly. I mean, it certainly wasn't going to be Tom Coughlin, and it certainly wasn't going to be Mike Shanahan. In this way, it really is a complete sea change from the way we thought the 49ers were heading. And it's also one more example, I think, that Jed York, looks like a businessman, but he's a bit of a riverboat gambler. He gambled on Mike Singletary. He gambled big on Jim Harbaugh. And now he's gambling big again on Kelly, in part, I think, to resuscitate Kaepernick, but in larger part to make his days as the owner a little less painful, because this last year he got beaten around like a rug.
Ray Ratto joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Meanwhile, across the bay, what are you hearing about the Raiders? What's going on with them and their ability to find a home for next year, Ray? What do you think?
Well, first of all, they're not going to find a home. the NFL basically kicked Mark Davis's brains around because other than the $200 million stadium loan that they'd have to assemble for them and the $100 million gift that they're offering if you can get a stadium started within the next year, he's still light years away. I mean, the city of Oakland was up front with him all along, said, we have no money to give you. You know, there's no bond issue that we can put together. There's nothing. You're going to have to do this on your own. Now, Alameda County, in which Oakland is placed, has some money, but I don't think they're terribly keen on putting it into another stadium after the stadium that his father basically foisted on them in 1995. So he's going to, I think, either going to have to sell control of the team at some point or find another big-hitting investor who will shoulder much of the money, because I don't know how much he can borrow in the open market. I mean, that's beyond my understanding. I'm not a banker. But for the moment, he's nowhere. He got essentially nothing out of the year and a half that he was in a partnership with Dean Spanos, and he's back at square zero.
What about the idea of him partnering up or as a tenant? However, the 49ers would be comfortable sharing the home of Super Bowl 50 with them. I mean, is that a possibility that the Raiders and Niners just shack up?
People float that all the time, and Jed York doesn't want them, and Mark Davis doesn't want to go there. I think the only way that happened at all is if there was a stadium in progress, and there isn't one now, so I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And at this point, barring a huge change of thought,
yeah,
I don't know that it will happen. You'd have to convince Jed York that having the Raiders in his building 10 times a year is worth it to him. I mean, he's probably going to make more money off the 2 relocation fees than he could ever see from the Raiders being a tenant. And beyond that, the Raiders would be going 40 miles away from their fan base to a place where, it would just seem alien to them. It makes them the perpetual road team. And they're almost that now, but that would just reinforce it. And that would it would make them the St. Louis Browns of football. And so I think that is intolerable to Mark at this point. And I think he'd almost move the team to another city before he'd do that.
You think he would do that, right? Go to is San Antonio the most likely option? Because he flat out said no when asked about St. Louis, about backfill.
Well, he's always said no about St. Louis, but things changed in the last 24 hours. He is, San Diego seems like a bad fit. I don't think San Antonio is a starter on this. I don't know where they go, but I think the most likely thing is going to be the thing that we've been living with for the last 15 years, which is him in Oakland, in the Coliseum, sharing with the A's, because I don't see either side working together on anything. I mean, there's been a stalemate going on between those two entities in the city for a good decade now, and I don't see that breaking. This basically just it reformed the traffic jam, is what it did. There was a little daylight when it looked like the Raiders were leaving, and now they're back at square zero too. So essentially, nothing was accomplished in the East Bay.
So
yay us.
So in the week's time since like this point last week, Niners were looking for a coach. The Chargers and Raiders were thinking they're going to go move to Carson, California. And now a week later, Chip Kelly's the coach in San Francisco, and the Raiders are back to square one. That's essentially it.
And Denver kicked the Warriors' ass last night. So.
Well, hey, no, wait, how? No, well, now, no Draymond Green though, right?
We don't look for excuses when you're as good as we are.
Aha.
No, you know what? Draymond Green is now 0-1 as an assistant coach, and he's got to live with that.
Certainly with Luke Walton's record. Which is 0-0, right? Isn't that technically 0? Carter gets
it's not it's actually 0-0.
It's unbelievable.
Luke Walton is a hologram. He doesn't actually exist.
So we're looking for R2-D2 behind the bench, just sort of using him back there.
They are indeed.
All right, Ray, thanks again. I appreciate you calling in from where you said you called it. Thank you.
All right, my friend.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. on audience.